Hello, and welcome to Aylmer Tells Its Stories, a series of historic, intangible heritage video clips on Aylmer and the Ottawa region. My name is Micheline Lemieux, and I am the president of the Aylmer Heritage Association. Through these clips, we will meet people from Aylmer and elsewhere who have stories to tell and want to share their past with us. The production of these video clips was made possible with the assistance of le Réseau du patrimoine de Gatineau et de l'Outaouais and la ville de Gatineau. Today we meet with Mrs. Ethel Guertin. She is 100 years old. Mrs. Guertin spent all her life in Aylmer and still lives in her own house. She will talk about her childhood, her family before the Second World War. As a young lady, she enjoyed shopping in Ottawa, and very interesting is the boarding house her mother started and the special types of boarders they had. Let's listen to her.
I was born in a very cold day in January in 1918. And I was born in a very cold farmhouse in what is now Lucerne, or part of Gatineau. And it was a very cold bedroom, and my mother tells me that it was so cold that there was a little drift of snow underneath the windowsill when morning dawned. So that's how cold it was. And she claimed that I've never been warm since. But I've got to refute that because I have. But and we spent, we moved from the farm into the town of Aylmer when I was 6. And the first thing that really made me enjoy the move was that all the children on the street, you know, I was so used to playing alone because my siblings were all older than me. And I had a very great imagination. I had very imaginary friends, you know. But here were all these playmates, and I just enjoyed that so much. So my father was a blacksmith, but he didn't practice that when we moved into town. And my mother was a housewife. So I had 2 sisters and a brother. But I had a very happy child life. Yeah, we were all good. And of course, my father was one of a family of 17, and my mother was a family of 13. Wow. So I had aunts and uncles by the dozens, and cousins, and I knew them all. I feel sorry for people who don't have close friends, you know, and family, because there aren't, I think I'm the only one left in my generation. I think there's maybe another a man out west who is still living. So I have many memories of relatives, and the funny part of it was that each family was different. My mother's family was all English. My father's family, my grandmother was a French girl. So I seem to have fit in pretty well with both. And then, of course, I married a French boy, so I've lived in the 2 worlds pretty well. And it would change. Sometimes I'd be with mostly English friends, depends what I was doing. And then when I got into working with different service clubs then it expanded to people outside my old area, you know. But I'm very happy with my life and I hope it stays this way till I have to give up. We only were renting the farm, so the owner decided he wanted to sell it, and we were in no position to buy it. It wasn't that good for a farm. So we moved into Aylmer, and he got a job, my dad got a job with the Hull Electric, the streetcars that used to run from Ottawa to Aylmer. And he got a job in the barns where they did the repairs and everything. So he was there only 7 years, I think, when the Depression began. And as he was the last one in, he was the first one to be let go. So we lived in a big house, and in order to survive, we started taking in roomers and boarders. And I could write a book on the boarders and roomers that we used to have. Some were very nice, some were not so nice. They didn't last too long with my mother. She was the boss. One person who rented was a showgirl at the Gatineau Country Club, and she had a monkey. And she kept the monkey in her room, and of course the monkey was not toilet trained, so Mom said, that's the end of monkeys. No more monkeys. But it was an interesting life because we met people, and most of the performers were from the United States. There were very few, some from Montreal, but there was a floor show every night at the Gatineau Club. In fact, there were two shows, one at 9 and one at 11, I think. And we have all kinds of people. They put a name. There were 2 or 3 boarding houses in Aylmer at the time, and they did put our names up on the board at the front. So we were never without variety, and my mother just treated them like one of the family. You know, they always loved my mother. She was just the real mothering type. But that's about all. And I went to school, at the Aylmer High School, which is now, might be vacant. I don't know what they're using it for. It's across from the Redemptorists on Main Street in Aylmer. For 11 years they taught the 11 grades there. And then I really wanted to be a school teacher, but like I say, it was hard times, and the only place I could find was in McDonald College, and we didn't have the money to go there. So my mother decided I would take a business course. So I enrolled in a private business course in Ottawa and graduated from there. So that was my schooling. So I've never looked for a job. I've just had good contacts, and it went from one to another. I did a lot of church work for the Anglican Church. Did a lot of work with the Red Cross, the blood donors clinics. Mrs. Boucher and I started the blood donor clinics. They used to come from Montreal with all their gear. So we had 10 of them in Aylmer. But I've always been interested in the community, and never, didn't say no very often. And then, of course, my husband being a fire chief for over 30 years, we were a busy family. I was sort of glad when he retired because I didn't have to go out so much, but so now I'm living a life of ease, quiet. So I'm well looked after. So, there were a couple of stores in Aylmer like that. They were built like what we would call a department store now. And the one beside the British had dry goods on one side and the groceries on the other. And then there was another one over on Brook Street. That was the same, it was run by the Mondu family. And you could go there and do all your shopping. It was in the one spot. The stores were mostly privately owned. We didn't have any, and even in Hull and Ottawa, there were not that many. There was maybe Sears, there wasn't B. Sears then, it was B. Simpsons and Eaton's, and they would have little stores in Aylmer where you could go and order from the catalog. But most of our shopping for clothes and footwear and more stylish things, you'd have to go to Ottawa. But we could take the streetcar, and the streetcar used to go across the interprovincial bridge. And you would get off and walk upstairs, would bring you up right beside the Chateau Laurier. So that was a big esplanade, I guess you would call it. You could go down Rideau Street and shop. Freeman's store was down there. Or you could go up, Spark Street. There wasn't too much on Spark Street. Aylmer became sort of what they call a boudoir town. Everyone worked outside of Aylmer and actually just came home to sleep, the working, you know. But it was always a very friendly and town. We never had to be cautioned to look out for strangers. There were nothing to be afraid of. I think it was ideal place to grow up.